Hey guys, welcome back to Pilot VlogBook. And if you're new here, this channel is where I vlog my flying experiences. I'm looking to make a video for every logbook entry. And today's video is going to be entry number 1. So I've been going to a lot of the local airports and a lot of the local flight schools. I've been doing a ton of research online. Coming up with a list of questions is really important to start with, and defining, different criteria in a school and just so much about it. And just have been doing a ton of research, meeting with CFIs and touring the different airports and schools. And I was like, I've got to get Discovery flight booked, and I actually had gone online and found a Groupon for the school that I was already really leaning towards, and I got that on the books. And over the next week I went to some more flight schools and airports and talked to different people, watching a lot of YouTube videos, digging through a lot of information online, and just really trying to get a feel for what the process was going to be like, what to expect, and just trying to ask all the right questions. So I showed up for the school with the Groupon, and we were off. I met my instructor that was doing the photo flight, and we kind of hit it off. He's around my age, and had a real great attitude. You could tell he was super passionate about flying. Obviously, most CFIs are just trying to build hours, and this is kind of a way for this school to kind of get people in, bring in business. It's also a way for the CFIs to build hours in general. It's kind of a win-win in that regards. I don't know how they afford to do it. It's great advertising, but $56 for the Discovery flight was somewhere around a quarter of the cost. Most of the places around me were charging, and yeah, I don't know. It all just worked out really well. So he took me and toured me around a little bit. We went in the hangar, and it's kind of more of the hangar. There's a whole strip of hangars that they have their office in, and they actually have their planes in T hangars and tie downs. But he brought the plane around. We went over some of the stuff that we were going to do. We talked about my interest in flying. I had told him, I was looking to get my private pilot. And, he started talking about, how we wanted to treat the Discovery flight. And he started tailoring it towards me, anticipating me wanting to get my license and continue forward with it. So it was really, a unique experience, because it wasn't just so much like some fun thing to do that most people are probably just doing it just to try it and never do it again. I'm coming into it with a strong interest in aviation. So it was really interesting to kind of have the experience tailored in that direction. But we got in the plane, and we went over some procedural stuff, and he kind of explained what we were doing. We did a walk around, and we talked about like some emergency situation things, and before you know it, he goes over a little bit about the plane, and he let me taxi over towards the runway. I think he taxied some of it. Super hard to get used to right off the bat. I've operated sticks and pedal skid steers and stuff like that. It's different. It's really odd. There's this weird non-positive feedback, delay, strangeness in the rudder pedals controlling the front wheel. Very odd, hard to get used to. You find yourself, starting to like slalom back and forth, between the delay and just not having the feel. It's very, very strange. But anyway, we ended up taxiing and to a hold short at the runway. We were actually there a good bit of time. Unfortunately, a local firefighter had passed away, and the Maryland State Police were flying their helicopters, the state troopers, and I think some medevac units. They were doing kind of like a formation flying tribute. So we were holding there for them. I, of course, didn't mind because I'm sitting there in an airplane. And it was really neat. We're right there at the hold short of the runway, and there's these fascinating helicopters landing literally right in front of me. This is all so new and incredible, and it's happening. So we're sitting there, and the Groupon flight time had a limit on it, and he's saying, hey, listen, we're gonna get your time no matter what. So I ended up getting almost an hour and a half of, we'll say, tech time, which was significantly more than what the Groupon was supposed to be. I didn't really care. I was going to pay for a Discover flight full price regardless, and stumbled across this Groupon anyway. So I'm just super stoked. But we taxi out onto the runway finally, and he actually helps me kind of assist on takeoff. I, of course, have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. But I'm holding the yoke, manipulating, keeping the wings level, and he's giving me an attitude and a pitch degree to hold, and it's just sensory overload. I'm like, wow, I'm flying. You look down, and all this stuff's going on around you still. People are taxiing. People are coming in, behind us. I'm hearing all this radio traffic. I got this plane pitched up. I can't see anything. It's totally weird being pitched up like that. You lose sight of everything. Now I'm just staring at instruments that I've never seen before. It's wild. But we had talked about where we were going to go ahead of time. We headed up north to a more rural area that I'm actually familiar with, that I was excited to go see. And so as we're going there, I got to practice some turns, and he actually demonstrated some slow flight, which was really interesting. And he said he had actually been talking earlier about landing. A guy he knows has a private landing strip in a field right there at his house. When I say right there at his house, I mean it is right next to his house. And it's actually registered with the FAA private, so it does actually show up on a sectional, which is really neat. It's something that apparently has been around for a long time, but this is a new owner. And so we're flying out there, and we had done a few things, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, do you want to see something cool? And he brings up, landing in this field. And mind you, it's cold, it's wet. It just snowed 4 or 5 days ago, and that had since just finally been trying to melt over the last 24 hours or something. And I'm like, yeah, definitely. Let's do that. So we're flying over, and we spot it down there. And, it's maybe you've seen some other YouTube videos. Maybe you've seen something on TV. I mean, it literally looked like nothing. It certainly was a lot more than you might see some bush plane land on, on some like oyster bar on the edge of a river, but this seemed like undoable. Again, of course, I have no idea, but so we're coming around, and he's calling out some different obstructions, trees, the power lines, and there's a ton of geese everywhere, and so we turn, and we're coming in for the approach to land. And the power lines are not the typical, so they're not like high tension. There's some kind of weird cross. They're like a step above like your regular, street pole style, but they're not quite the superstructure high tension that you see either. It's kind of this weird in between. So they're significantly taller than normal, and two of them, they're in pairs. Gray, real hard to see, and they're right at kind of like where you would cross over. You cross over them, and then immediately within a few hundred feet, you're at the threshold of this runway. So anyway, we're dropping altitude. This is all new to me. I mean, I'm just like, wild. I'm ghosting the controls the whole time. So I'm feeling all of his movements, and we're dropping in and coming in, on an angle, and really just trying to bleed off speed. And it's just insane. And so right as I look down, and we're right over top the power lines, I guess from the field that was on the other side of the power lines from the field we're going to land in, all these geese had just got up, and it's probably a little under 100 maybe, and they get up, and I look down, and they're right below us, and they're taking off, and they're gaining altitude, and he immediately is calculating all of this as we're coming in. They kind of broke and went away like that, and anyway, it's just kind of incredible timing. And so we're coming in, we touch down, and all that experience is weird. Coming in, kind of hovering a little bit, flaring up, and we're down on the main gear. And it felt like the front wheel never touched. And I think we wheelied it down probably purposely for a good bit. And so we get probably 200 feet, and then we're coming up on a big drop. And we go down the drop, and it felt like we had not slowed down at all. And so we're coming down, and now we're approaching the guy's house here. And right next to the house is a road, immediately backed up by trees. And we're getting closer and closer to this house, and it felt like we were screaming. And all the while, he's commenting about how muddy the field is. And as he's saying that, I look out the window, and we're just rutting this field up. I mean, we're putting some decent ruts in this field, and I'm having a blast. I'm like laughing on the inside, and a huge smile on my face, and I'm just thinking like, wow, this is exactly the experience I could have hoped for, and it was really odd, just looking back too. This plane took off from a state-run airport. Now we are in this muddy field. All the while, it's my first experience in a plane like this. And so we're getting down to the end, and, he finally gets coming on the brakes. And I guess he was doing that on purpose, maybe for a couple reasons. One, to not lock the brakes up and maybe just try to roll off some of that speed. The other thing maybe is he really wanted to taxi down to the far end without losing speed. I'm not quite sure on that. He's like, oh, look out for my buddy in the window. And we look over, and as we look over, we had slowed down at this point. where now we're like really digging in the mud. And he starts putting power in it, and he says, we're not going to stop, we're digging in. And we kind of whip this 180, and we turned around to the right, and the right side main gear is really digging in. And so then you could tell it surprised him a little bit as well. And he said, we're going to turn around here, we're going to go down to the other end, we're not going to stop, we're going to come back around, and we're going to take off the direction we landed. And so he's talking about he was talking about assisting me a little bit with taking off, but he was going to do most of it. And before you know it, we're taxiing down this field. I'm looking out. I mean, without exaggeration, I mean, we're digging in about this much, which doesn't sound like a lot, except, when the tire is maybe that much, and from here to here is, up to like the caliper on the brakes. I mean, we're really digging in, and we got these like nearly smooth aircraft tires. It's crazy. I looked down at the gear on my side when we turned around again, and it's just straight plowing. I mean, mud is just going up and over the gear. I'm just like, it's surreal, And so we didn't ever come to a stop at that end, just like he said. We were pretty much full power doing that 180. We were digging in. It was really starting to grab a hold of us when we had slowed down. Before you know it, he's talking about ground effect, which I had already learned a little bit about in my online school that I'm trying to take, kind of preemptively getting into all of this just to start the learning process. I've been doing that over the last week. And so we're getting ready for takeoff, and we hit that same spot where the field kind of dips down, and that's right when, right before that, he had said that, we're gonna start going, and we're gonna start the aircraft in a wheelie. And as soon as we pick up the main gear, we're going to nose down and stay and take advantage of that ground effect and build airspeed close to the ground. And then once we were at, I guess, more of an appropriate or at least faster climbing speed, then we were going to start our ascent back up. And it was wild. And by then, the owner had been walking out with his dog, and all I could think about as I'm looking back as ruts as far as you can see now, 2 tracks in his field, I was like, man, this guy's probably not happy. Meanwhile, I'm looking down, the gears is caked. But incredible experience. All this has taken place in Maryland. If you're familiar with the Harford County area, and so one of the reservoirs in the area is Loch Raven. So I actually got to fly us in that direction, and then he let me fly a loop around the reservoir. A little bit of ice still in the reservoir, which was neat to see. First time seeing like aerial ice in person like that. That was really neat. So then we just started heading back towards the airport. And so he talked about letting me do some of the landing. And I actually got to have some amount of control of the plane, enough that, he was putting in some corrections. He was handling the flaps, and he was, running the throttle throughout the entire flight. But I actually got to, at least do wings level and, directional heading, control, trying to be on center line and whatnot, landing. And I came down and we flared. I think he did 90% of the flare. And we're coming in. We touched down pretty soft, but a touchdown the left main gear a little more so than the right. And you know, before we know it, we're on the ground, and you know, the tower's got someone coming in behind us pretty rapidly. So we're up on the power, screaming down. We rip off the runway, and before you know it, we're taxied back over to the hangar. And I mean, like, it's like a cheering and high-fiving kind of thing going on. You know, at least in my head. This is just, you know, standard for him, but I'm just baffled. And so it was really cool because he made it special because, you know, after that, I figured it'd be like, all right, next. I mean, because it's like you've already paid. They're trying to run a business, but he really went through he really took the time to kind of just talk aviation and talk about the process and what we had just did. And, you know, my mind like can't even handle any more information at this point. I can't have any more excitement. I can't have any more information. I'm on sensory overload. And all the while, I just scheduled this by chance, you know, kind of on purpose, because I was like, why not? It's that week anyway. But it's my birthday on the day we're doing this. I had just turned 32. And so after this, I'm immediately going out with some family to get some sushi at a local spot. And so I actually called my best friend and told him about the story. And I don't know, I could really talk about it for hours and hours and hours. And you know, it's a cliche, but it really is one of those things you have no idea until you try it. And even saying it now, it just sounds dumb, but it's really true. I mean, it's something that you almost can't even describe. You really can't. It takes so many words to try to even come close to describing it that it's almost not worthwhile. So I encourage you guys watching this video, you know, as soon as this video ends, start looking. And if you don't even do any research yet for what schools are available and the process and rules and regulations, you can let all that come second. Just go around, shop around, look at some places hosting discovery flights, and, you know, read their reviews if you have doubts. If you haven't already done some research on the facilities. You don't want a bad first experience. You don't want reviews where people, the instructors are going up there and doing like aerobatics and, you know, stuff to possibly... Thank you. You too. Thank you. Sorry about that. Had a delivery. But anyway, yeah, you don't want any instructors going up there and doing any like cowboy stuff. While it may be fun and exciting if you're into that and you're expecting that, I have read and heard a lot about you know, young particularly CFIs going up there in situations like this and kind of shying people away from the experience, making people uncomfortable. I wouldn't really worry about it, but just do some of your homework. But I encourage you to get that flight experience and just see what it's all about. If it turns out to be exciting and something for you, then nothing's going to be more motivating than going ahead and, you know, booking that discovery flight and going on it. And if you have any doubts, you know, book another one. I've only been on the one, and this is over the next week. I have one more airport with one more school that I'm trying to line up and to make a final decision. But I've already been leaning towards this school. The CFI that did the Discovery flight is great. We have a lot of the same interest. I like his personality, his energy, enthusiasm. He seems real laid back. I mean, what did we just do on my very first flight? It's insane. So I'm super stoked, but I encourage you to do your research, but just get out there and start experiencing it. It's consumed me at this point. I got home. Well, I didn't even get home. I went right to dinner. I'm eating with family, having a great meal. Trying to have a meal that's not this right now, where I'm just blasting all this information and I'm just trying to enjoy family time. But I didn't even have time to compress. I got out of the airplane. We talked. Get in the truck. I'm driving, but I'm talking all hyped up to my buddy the whole way to dinner. I get to dinner, just normal, whatever. I get home and I'm finally able to decompress. I hop in the shower. I probably took a 40-minute shower where it was hardcore daydreaming, just mind blown kind of stuff. And that's what I said, about trying to explain it later. You just can't. And just trying to process what you just experienced. It's really nothing like anything. I mean, now maybe if you've been skydiving or something that, I don't know, at least some of the visual aspects of that, maybe you could draw some, similarities there, but it really is, it's everything I hoped it would be, and so many things that I would have never thought of. The control of the plane is surreal, very, very, I don't know, it's so vulnerable. I mean, anything, four-wheelers, dirt bikes, fast cars, trucks, you name it, having experienced them, there's that direct connection, the ground, this is so strange, just kind of floating, I mean, I love scuba diving. When you're, when you have perfect neutral buoyancy and you're just in a column of water is probably the closest thing I've experienced to something like this, where you can just float and kind of go any direction. I think I kind of have summarized it as this is my first time experiencing the Z-axis, the vertical axis, like this. Manipulating up and down movement is so strange. It is very, very odd. You don't naturally even possess the I don't know. It's just so weird. It's like you can't orient normally like that. Anyway, you got to get out there. You got to try it. Don't take my word for it. I hope, if nothing else, this video serves as motivation for you. Get on YouTube. Watch some people's discovery flights. But the most important thing you can do is, if you're interested, book one. It's going to be step one of this process, and you're going to absolutely love it. I really appreciate you guys. If you've watched to the end of this, I want to let you know that I'm going to keep making videos for each time I go up in the air. I already have a another flight scheduled with this company, and it actually is going to work out great because they have another Groupon that they offered that they advertise as a 1-hour photo tour for 2 or something like that. But the instructor said if I want to book that, he'll actually treat it as lesson 1, and both today's experience and this next time will count on my logbook. And again, the Groupon was like $65 off. The total time for this, the air time is more. I think the first one was technically supposed to be a half hour. I got like, I think 0.6 hours air time. But the experience time was I was probably in the plane at least an hour. And then between the pre-flight and afterwards, it was really pushing like an hour and a half or something. So it was really neat. I was probably there for 2 hours. But anyway, so now I have this huge discount on my next flight too. It's still like half the cost of what lesson 1 would cost you with a plane, the wet rate of a plane and instructor time. So I'm super excited. Subscribe. That way you get notification when that video is coming out. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, please. It's really going to help me grow this channel. I'm super excited to document this process so people like you can see what it's all about. I really want this to be a tool. Like if you're on the fence about whether you're interested, again, book your discovery flight, but watch some of these videos and see through my eyes what you could expect. And I think you'll really enjoy it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Put your comments down below. Hey, if you're booking a discovery flight, tell me about it. I'd love to hear about it and check in later after you've gone on that flight and had this life-changing experience. And I'm trying to pull together resources as I go, and would like to put them on a website and build kind of like a community there for all of us to share and be able to pull. There's so much information out there, and there's even so many other YouTube channels that they try to be an academy or a school or a training this or a training that, and they're all just trying to push. They have some agenda. They're trying to push a product or drive traffic or whatever. I'm just trying to share this with everybody. It's all I can think about everything. I've already gathered up a whole bunch of resources that I have saved and documented, bookmarked, whatever. And I'm as I'm going through it, kind of filtering through, and I want to eventually put that information both here on the channel, so it's easy to digest, and then also have more detailed videos and just write-ups in the future on the website. But that'll be coming in the future, so please subscribe if you have not already, and you'll stay up to the date with all my new videos and information. And so the next flight is going to be technically lesson 1, I guess, if you want to call it that. And I hope to see you there, and you guys enjoy. Thanks.